All right.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Dubs and DVDs podcast. I am the host of this operation, Stephen Heyman. I'm joined here by my illustrious one of my co-hosts, Brandon.
What's up, illustrious? I don't know what that means, but
Illustrious. It
oh,
means like you're cool. You're like top of the top, creme de la creme. And then I'm joined by
wow.
our faceless pumpkin friend here,
I'm
Yvonne.
actually a Yeti man.
A
Yeah,
what?
but yeah, thank you for having me on. Ready to do this
Oh, it's a
Dubs and
Yeti. My
DVD.
bad. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
white. I was my bad. Um, So this is the Dubs and DVDs podcast, people. This is going to be a podcast that the three of us are starting. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about games. We're going to talk about everything. Maybe we'll play some Fortnite. Maybe we'll maybe not. We're just gonna hang out. Just some dudes chatting. Maybe we'll have more guests. Maybe we won't. Who knows? But this is a first time thing for us. We're just gonna have some fun. And today we are talking about The Devil All the Time, the new Antonio Campos, Tom Holland movie on Netflix. So, opening thoughts, guys. What did you guys think of the movie?
Very, very good Netflix movie. For a
definitely.
Netflix movie, I don't know what else you can ask for.
Yeah,
Good movie overall, but it's a movie.
yeah. I think I totally agree with you, Brandon. Like, it's not like a 10 out of 10 or anything, but I just had a lot of fun watching it. I don't know. Like, I saw some people calling it boring and stuff online, and like a lot of like maybe like more critical people calling it boring. And I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of liked watching all these horrible, terrible people
Yeah,
in like 40s dress. A lot of them incredibly famous, like just like having southern British people trying to do southern accents, and like it's dark. It's kind of gross. It's fun to watch, man. Like that was my takeaway too. It's fun to watch.
what you said
Yeah,
was really, really big. Sorry, Yvonne, but I was gonna say the people in it make it fun to watch. The cast is just so stacked, and we can get more into that later. But that's what makes you want. I don't think it drags because of the cast. Maybe with like a worse cast or people you didn't even know, maybe it would drag. I do see how they're saying that, but
Yeah,
in general, just uh,
yeah. I think that's probably a
everybody in
fair
it makes.
point. If it was like a bunch of like kind of like lesser known people, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it quite as much. But like,
right.
I mean, like Robert Pattinson alone, bro. Like the haircut, the puffy shirt, the ridiculous accent, the weird like just how weird he
Right.
is. Like,
All the accents are so good in the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. With like the funny things too is like literally all of the actors are British,
Right.
and
Yeah,
Right.
like they all like have southern accents. I mean, some of them are better than others, I think, but it's fun to watch. I mean, regardless, that's my thing. I just had a good time watching it, dude. Like,
for sure. And I think that some people might say that the pacing is a little bit slow, but overall, I feel kind of like the movie kind of has like a slow exposition, and it really like starts to pick up near the end with like all the like the events that happen. And
yeah,
we're going spoiler free right now, but like everything that happens in like the second half of the movie, you see kind of like all the things in the first half are really
yeah.
building up
I
and drawing
I
towards
kind
Yeah.
of
the
enjoyed that. Yeah, what were you saying,
yeah,
Brennan?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like it all pays off. Everything. It might have a slow start, but if you don't have the slow start, you don't get the payoff at the end of the movie that you get with this.
I agree. I
Keeping it spoiler
agree.
free, but
I agree. Yeah, I think like yeah, keeping it spoiler free, but they do a really like cool job of kind of like explaining. Like they introduce all the characters within the first like 20, 30 minutes, and it's a long movie. And there's a lot of characters, and they introduce a lot of them throughout the first 20, 30 minutes. And like it's cool. Like a lot of them don't really play a big part until down the line, and it's cool to kind of see how they actually like connect. Like they kind of introduce them, and then you see down the line how they connect to the actual all story. I think it's cool. You know what I mean? Like it's just such like a fun watch for like somebody who likes movies. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
maybe like
yeah,
the average uh, person, like a Tom Holland fan, like like a teenager who's like loves Spider-Man, like oh Tom Holland on a Netflix movie, they might not love it because it's slow and it's dark
yeah.
and there's
Definitely
a
not
lot
like a
of
lot of the
death.
Hollywood movies.
Yeah, yeah, but I feel like for people who like movies like this, like you like Southern Gothic, you like watching really dark, slow movies. It's just fun to watch. Like it doesn't have to be like the best movie ever. I mean, there are like I can understand people calling it slow, but I had fun. So
And it really is like a movie with layers because like I watched the movie like fully a couple like weeks ago when it like first came out, and then I watched it again today, just kind of like the first half of the movie, and I was just noticing like wow, like all this stuff, the foreshadowing and like the different things and like the music and everything that clue into like what's really going on under the scenes is just like it's really
yeah,
crazy. It's a
yeah,
really deep movie for
I
sure.
agree. And I mean, like they do. They have themes that they tease in the beginning of the movie that pay off. Like it's there's a little more to it. Like I guess like the themes are they're somewhat easy to discern because they emphasize the themes. But I like that, and they have themes under the surface about like religion and like I don't know. I kind of like some of the symbolism. Again, like I might be a little heavy-handed, but sometimes I like my themes to be heavy-handed because it brings it home, and I think it does away. I like the narrator too. Like it's narrated by the actual author of the original book, which I think is cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
I saw that in the credits, and
Yeah, his name is Donald Ray Pollock.
yeah,
Looked it up because I was. Yeah, that's so cool, and he did a great. Like, if you would have just told me that was like a voice actor, I would have completely
yeah,
believed you. The fact that it's
same,
like, he like, I was like, yeah, that's a super good job. Yeah,
the same for sure. And yeah, no, I think that yeah, the whole time like he was talking at the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, he's one of the characters, right? Like maybe he's like old Tom Holland or something, or he's like Sebastian Stan doing a thick accent or something. It wasn't. It was just like a narrator. I kind of like that too.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah. End of the day, it's cool watching Spider-Man and Batman and Beth from Little Women and the Winter Soldier. You know, just all firing guns and talking in Southern accents. If that doesn't sound fun to you, I don't know what to tell you. So
All right. Well, I think we've kind of come to like the end of like what we can say
yeah,
as like
yeah.
spoiler-free stuff.
So if
Hold on,
anybody's listening to this and like hasn't seen it, this is the end of the spoiler free. Go watch the movie. Honestly, if this sounds appealing to you, if you like the actors in it, if you like dark movies, go watch it. I think you'll really like it. It's also just something fun to watch. Like you say, it's a great Netflix movie. Like maybe I would have different emotions if I spent $15 to watch it in a movie theater, but it's a really fun Netflix movie for sure, for sure. So
right.
yeah,
All right. Can I kick off the
go for
spoiler-y
it.
discussion?
Go for it, Yvonne.
Okay.
Go for it.
So
but starting
this
now.
is Yvonne's secret surprise question
Okay.
for Brendan and Eve.
Okay.
So, okay, what I wanted to start off with was asking you guys about like I guess the main like cliffhanger like, at the very end of the movie. Like, what do you guys think? Did Tom Holland survive yet another encounter with death,
Mhm.
or did he finally meet his match? What do you guys think?
What do you think? Are you saying that like it's implied that maybe he died?
No, I'm just implying that like maybe something else happens because like
Yeah.
we leave off at the end of the movie where they're saying that like he gets into the
Yeah,
car
it
with this
does.
straight
It does leave very open ended for sure. I don't know. I kind of like it. It's. I think that's kind of a classic movie thing to do. Is just like I kept expecting like one more thing to happen, like the guy he gets in the car with at the end after he kills the Sebastian Stan sheriff. I thought that guy was about to like pull a gun on him and be like a cop or something. I don't know. I kept expecting that, but like, no, it just cuts off with him.
It's like gonna
him
get
falling. Yeah, but yeah, it ends very open ended. I mean, I think it was cool. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Brandon?
I don't think that anything bad happened because, at least in, I mean, I think we're led to believe nothing bad happens because in the movie you see the culmination of everything happening, and you see them come together, and there's nothing else left unturned.
Yeah.
Everything there's bad that could happen other than, like I said, like him getting in a car wreck, but that wouldn't make sense with anything else.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason in this movie with the characters intertwining with each other. And I think that was like Tom Holland killing the sheriff was like the last stone of everything happening and
Yeah.
the
For
movie.
sure.
So, I mean, obviously it's open to anybody's interpretation, but personally, I think that's it. I think, okay, now everything is done. That is the
Yeah.
end of the movie.
That's a good point.
I agree, and I think like the way that the movie kind of tackles religion in general, like Tom Holland is the really the only person, or like his main thing is like he's kind of anti-religion, and like pretty much everyone else in the movie sucks a lot. Like Tom Holland is flawed, obviously, like he kills like everybody else, but he kills Robert Pattinson, and then he kills the bald guy. I forget that actor's name. The hairline guy, the photographer, and
Okay.
and then he kills the sheriff, and like, but he's probably the best person in the movie, other than maybe his sister who kills herself. Like, because he's kind of just like this. I don't know. He serves justice. Like all the other characters that he kills all suck a lot. So it's kind of hard to feel too bad for the people that he's killing, you know? Like Robert Pattinson is a literal sexual deviant predator that like made his sister kill herself and like didn't take responsibility for impregnating her, and like was like having sex with another teenage girl, and like
Oh, he's married.
well, he's married. I didn't realize that he was married until Tom Holland tells me he's married, talks about him being married before he kills him.
At the beginning when they're all meeting him, his wife is like standing with him, but I don't think like they ever introduce her. But it's like obviously like he's with another.
Oh, see, I didn't even
woman,
catch
but-
that. I didn't even catch that. I was just focused on our Pat, you know, scooping chicken liver. What a
my
dick!
God.
That scene made me so mad when he like talks about how poor she is or whatever, and how like he's gonna eat it anyway, even though they're clearly poor because they have chicken liver. I was like, you dick! like that was just like the mom was like so. She's flawed, obviously, because she's obviously a little too religious, I think, quote unquote, like in the scheme of the movie thematically. But she's very innocent. The grandma, I guess. I don't even know what to call her.
What you were saying about Tom Holland being the best character, I'm in terms of main characters, yes. However, I'm thinking that the grandma, is the best character overall because she doesn't really do anything bad.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland deserves vengeance, but I guess you could say he could forgive Robert Pattinson's character, the preacher. You could forgive him, and because he did just go up and kill him, obviously, for obvious reasons. And it's like the grandmother literally does nothing wrong in the entire movie.
Actually disagree with you, Brandon, because
Okay, why?
in the beginning of the movie, like you remember that the grandmother is trying to like set up Willard with that woman, and she basically foreshadows like the entire movie. She's like, "Oh, bad things will happen if I don't put these two together." So
it's true. I mean,
right?
It's her whole fault. The whole movie,
it's kind of true. She made a promise to God and she broke it, and literally everybody dies. I mean, that's
God decided to kill 20 people.
Yeah, I think.
No, I mean, I see what you're saying. But at the same time, that's promising to marry somebody is not as bad as killing someone, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, making like a nonsensical promise to God so your son can return home from war is probably not in the same league as killing 5 people. But again, I think the way that the movie like kind of looks at Arvin, Tom Holland's character, is interesting. Like, he's not really a villain, even though he kills 5 people. Like I say, like of the main characters, I think he's the only one who doesn't have any comeuppance. Like, I kept expecting him to get killed at the end, and it's be like, oh man, everybody dies. Dang. But like the end of the movie is him like thinking about like his past and his future, and just kind of like, it's almost like the movie kind of like leveled out. Like there was just so much like evil and sin, and he kind of cleansed. I don't know, like in a way.
And I like how they left it open-ended with that too, that they're not like, oh, the police found the evidence for these people being like serial killers and everything, and then Tom Holland is exhausted. He's like, he's imagining like, oh, what if this happened? I think that was like a really cool choice by that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, like, you know, like we don't really know like what happens to Tom Holland, because when they call Sebastian the sheriff, and they're like, oh yeah, this kid killed this pastor, and he's like, oh, what's his name? And he's like, I wouldn't worry about him. Like, it sounded like this like they knew that the pastor was shady too. It looked like Tom Holland or Arvin had left a note. So I think that's kind of interesting for sure.
It's really interesting to look at all the characters too. If you look at it, I guess what's Bill Skarsgård's character name?
Willard, I think.
Willard. Okay, yeah, I think sounds right.
Willard.
Him and Arwen are probably the only 2 people who have like you understand why they act the way they do. But because think about Willard, like he has like seen these terrible things in war. His wife, he comes back, his wife dies from cancer. Like he has terrible like you kind of see why he does the things he does. And then other than him, everybody else is just really evil except for Tom character Arwen. Like, so if in fact he's had so many bad things happen to him. His mom dies. His dad kills himself. Like his dad kills his dog.
Yeah.
There's so many
His
bad things
dad
that happen to him.
crucifies his dog. That was gruesome. Yeah.
Oh,
Probably,
is that okay? Dang.
so. Think about all the. He's the one that makes the most sense of doing something bad or turning into a terrible person.
Mm.
Yet he's probably arguably one of the best characters in the show.
Yeah.
And that's something really interesting. I think that we do, at least we don't see the past of everybody else, but all these people seem to come
Yeah.
from regular lives as bad people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's it's steeped in Christian symbolism. Like basically
Yeah.
any kind of like mention or like there's a lot of use of the cross as symbolism and like kind of symbol like anytime there's the cross there's a lot of death and just like the way this movie puts religion in a very dark sinister light and kind of focuses on like the really dark sides of religion for the most part. And Tom Holland being kind of against religion after his mom dies, like him really not getting any repentance in the end or any kind of like comeuppance for killing all those people kind of makes me think that the movie in general was like kind of just like a hey, like the devil is in religion, like not necessarily condemning religion in general, but just like the devil
At
operates
least
inside religion.
that kind of religion.
Yes.
So kind of religion that like fearing and the way that they presented religion at the beginning of the movie, where they're like, screaming and like that kind of religion, and I think that's a good way of what you said, Steve, of like showing like this is what this religion causes, or this is the people who believe in this religion. Not
Yes.
obviously not all
Yeah.
people, but in general, the movie frames it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was kind of getting the feeling that it's not kind of just about like religion. It kind of seemed to me that like the characters who had like bad things happen to them, which is basically everyone in this movie,
Yeah.
like they had some sort of effort to like correct something or make themselves right with God or like do something good. And then it always just like comes back on them. Like if you think about in the beginning of the movie, like when like Willard is going out with Arvin and he's like beating up those guys. He's trying to teach like Arvin like a lesson about like standing up for himself or whatever.
Yeah.
But it always kind of seems like the movie, like right after something like that happens, they're punishing them. So like Willard, for example, he like beats up those guys, and then right away his wife collapses. And I'm just not saying that's like a direct cause, but like I kind of feel like the movie was doing that like throughout.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with Arvin later on. That he goes and beats up those guys, and then right afterwards his sister meets the pastor and everything.
Yeah.
Which I meant really badly.
Yeah.
Too, you can see his sisters decide like going to kill herself is like, and the whole thing with that, and then like immediately she's like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself, but she dies anyway, maybe
Yeah.
because she was attempting suicide, you know what I mean? So I mean that more of a stretch, but you could maybe throw that one in there too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good point. Like a lot of people in this movie are not. There are a few just like pure poisonous people, and I think that's the main two is the pastor, Robert Pattinson's character, and the photographer. I forget his name, but they're both especially like just poison, and they die. But I think all the people around them, like I think that's a pretty good point. Like they pay for their mistakes. Like they have like a moment of vulnerability and they die. Like you say, like the sister going to hang herself because she's pregnant, and then the narrator's like, yeah, no, she didn't want like no, she wasn't. She tries to untie it and stop herself and trips over the bucket and kills herself. like
Right.
I think that's a pretty interesting point, Yvonne, for sure. That scene is so dark, bro. I can't believe that. Like that scene, this whole movie is so dark.
And the narrator talking over it too, I thought that was pretty like
yeah. I kind of dug the narrator in a way, and like I kind of liked how he kind of just said what was going on in a weird way. Like I don't know, I like it when movies. Sometimes I like it when movies are on the nose, and like a lot of the things that were kind of implied, the narrator's like, oh yeah, no, he did this. Like, oh, Robert Pattinson was bad. Like he the narrator gives you a lot of clues into like who these people actually are that the movie doesn't tell you, which I think is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, you want to move on to some other discussion topics? I think that's a good like baseline like thoughts about the plot of the movie. I think it does a lot of interesting thematic things that clearly we all had a lot of thoughts on.
Definitely.
So yeah. Okay, let's see here. So let's start. Best performance. What do you guys think?
Yvonne, you go first.
It's so hard, but I probably have to say Tom Holland just because not even just like his like scenes when he was like acting really well and like I don't know, yeah, basically like acting really well and doing like all his Tom Holland things.
Mm-hmm.
But like I like come back to that scene with the chicken livers
Yeah.
when like the preacher's saying stuff about like the chicken livers and embarrassing his mom in front of everyone. Like I have this visceral image of just like Tom Holland in my head. His eyes are just like burning a hole into the preacher, and I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like his whole performance overall was just like really solid,
I
very
agree.
emotional,
I like
and he
that.
played really well.
Brandon, what about you?
This is hard. I think I'm gonna go with Bill Skarsgård. I mean, it was either him or the guy that played the photographer, Jason Clark, which
Mm.
his name is Carl in the movie.
Okay, yeah, Carl, Carl,
Um,
Carl. Yeah.
but I'm gonna go with Bill Skarsgård. Am I saying that name right? Skarsgård. Is that how
Yes,
it's
I think
pronounced?
so. Yeah. Yeah. Pennywise.
And oh yeah, Pennywise. Yeah, I mean, did a really great job of portraying the like. I could see through him the you get back from war and you're down and everything, but oh, you find someone who loves his wife and family. They have a great family. Then oh, his wife is sick, and you
Yeah.
see the transformation from turning to going crazy and going back to. And also what you're saying about religion, going back to him real quick. It shows the movie he is non-religious, and when he's non-religious, he finds a wife, has a family, and everything. Then he
Mm-hmm.
starts becoming religious and look at everything bad that happened.
Yeah.
Interesting point, but
Yeah.
but no, I think he did a really good job. Obviously, he's only in the first third of the movie,
Yeah.
but I
It's kind of
really
funny.
like his acting and portrayal of his character,
Yeah, he was.
Willard.
That's a good shout for sure. Bill Scott. He's very good. He has a very unique look. I think he's not very
Yes.
handsome. He's not ugly by any means, but he's not very classically handsome either. Which is he played Pennywise. Like
I
he.
can never undo the image of Pennywise. It's just
Yeah,
he's gonna be.
oh for sure. I think for the rest of his life, his acting career, you're just gonna see Pennywise, and I think that just plays into his look, but I think that also helps his performance. Like I think he has a very just like unique look, and he's very lanky and tall, and like something about just his presence and like his delivery of his lines and his facial expressions, like you really like it's just very realistic to me. Like he reads as like you understand why he's doing those things, even though like he does all those crazy things that are like kind of weird and sketchy, like like crucifying the dog and killing, like
Oh my
slitting his
God.
wrists and killing himself and stuff. But like I agree. That's a good shout. I don't know. I mean, I have to go for me. I got to go with our Pat. I got to go with Robert Paddington, the boy. uh, I just, I think like, I mean, it's pretty clear. Like the internet is like, he's the main thing that people are taking away from this movie. Is just him and his accent, and I think it. I mean, like, I don't know if that's just from like a base like acting perspective if he has the best performance, but like I just love his performance. It's just so fun to watch, and like, especially like looking back on like who he is. I mean, you've seen this on the internet a million times if you're like keeping up with movies and stuff, but he's been in a lot of really good indie stuff for a while now, so he has a lot of cred as like a very talented actor. But it's kind of funny. Just for the rest of his career, it'll be funny to think like that's Edward Cullen, like that's sparkly Edward Cullen, like like talking in that weird Alice Day, but Southern chicken livers, like and like just like super sketchy. Like he's just fun to watch, man. And I also want to give a shout out to what's that dude's name? I'll look it up really quick. The guy who played Dudley in Harry Potter.
Harry
Gosh,
Melling.
that's him.
Yeah,
You totally
Harry
right.
Melling. Yeah, I like him a lot. I liked his performance a lot. Like he was very good as
That's the first thing I noticed in Harry Potter too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's very maniacal, and then when at the end when he dies and he's like you can kind of see that he has humanity. Like for a while
Oh my
you
God.
kind of think he's crazy, right? Because he kills his wife because he thinks he can resurrect her, and he like pours spiders on himself and he's
Oh
just
my
like
God.
bonkers, crazy religious. But like,
Wait,
he's
Steve, I gotta ask the question: is that a Spider-Man Easter egg right there?
yeah,
Did they just throw that into the movie?
yeah. You tell me, Yvonne. You tell me, buddy. I mean, I think that's foreshadowing. You know, where are the bats at? Like this is really the Spider-Man Batman movie we've all been waiting for. With Winter Soldier thrown in. I mean, come on. Yeah. Yeah. What's Harry Welling? You just said it. Shout out to him. He was
Yes.
in. I haven't seen it, but he was in a Coen Brothers movie. The one Netflix Coen Brothers movie. I heard he was really good. Harry Melling. Shout out to him. He was really good. I love seeing him. I love nothing. That's like one of my favorite things about watching movies is seeing random actors from random things. Like, oh my gosh, that's Dudley from Harry Potter, or something like
Yeah.
that. You know, you could do that with pretty much everybody in this movie. You could be like, oh, they're from that movie. That's cool. So, okay, next category.
Definitely.
Best scene. What was your guys' favorite scene?
You go first this time, Brandon. I
Okay.
have to take a second.
Okay. Okay. So this is a small part of a scene, so I don't even know if you could even say. Okay, well, I'm gonna say the obvious one first, and then I have another one that I think is like part of a scene that's really cool. The obvious one I think for me is the scene where Tom Holland's character Arvin kills the Reverend,
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is, I think the obvious answer personally.
Yeah.
That is so iconic. Where
Yeah.
I mean, two of the best actors, the two main characters probably in the show,
I'm pretty sure
sitting.
you got Tom for a sinner.
So good, and the realization of when Tom Holland's character Arvin is telling him everything that he has done, but
Yeah.
he's saying, but then the preacher realizing he's talking about himself,
Mhm.
like that is so.
Yeah,
like,
that was cool.
so-
It was a very cool
so
thing. Yeah.
I was like anxious. I was like, this is so intense.
Yeah.
During that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that is my favorite scene.
Yeah.
However, I have a part of a scene that I like was like, oh, that's so good.
Mm.
That I'm gonna say too. I'm gonna get this little shout out. The very end of the movie when the sheriff dies, it pans to him in his point of view, looking up at the trees.
Yeah.
And I mean, 20 minutes in the movie before that, it goes to the photographer Carl and his wife. What's his wife's name?
Andy,
To Sandy.
wasn't it? Sandy.
Sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandy. Yeah, Sandy. So, Sandy is talking about to the guy that they're about to kill. Like, just look up at the trees. It's so pretty. Like, and she looks up and he says it's the exact same camera pan looking up at the trees. And then her brother dies looking up at the trees. The exact same
Yeah,
camera
I
way.
think they reference that one more time, don't they? Like,
Yeah.
Do they? I don't.
I think there's even
What's the-
another time where they're talking about where Sandy like looks in the sky and talks about something like, what if she died, or I don't know the exact moment, but there's another point where they kind of reference like what it must be like to die and like floating in the clouds.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
it's Sandy or the whatever her name is, the
No,
photographer.
that's when the Dudley Harry Roy's character. That's when he looks up before he gets killed, and he's like, "Oh, look at the cloud." Remember, the narrator talks.
Yes.
He looked up at the
Yes.
clouds and wondered what it'd be like.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
that's
So
before
it's very foreshadowed. I agree. I think that's cool too. I like.
I
that
think
scene
the
a lot.
sheriff being like the last character that dies, looking up through the tree line at the cloud, like that is a very. I love
Yeah, it's
that.
powerful. It's powerful.
I wouldn't say that whole scene, but
Well, and especially
that's
like for
really good.
I
Really
think
good
it was
just about ending.
it was kind of cool because that character's doesn't have a lot to go off of. You know what I mean? That character's kind of just like a crappy crooked cop that like only cares about money and attention and like doesn't really care about anything. Like it's kind of cool to give him a last little moment to like even someone like that's just kind of a human piece of crap, like not a good person. Like he kind of even someone like that has the moment when they're dying of like, what's it like to die? I don't know. It's some cool stuff they're doing there for sure. Okay, for me, favorite scene, I think the Tom Holland one is a good shout. Very good. I love Tom Holland. Like I can't front. Like my favorite Peter Parker ever. I love his acting. I think he's so personable and just lovable and like everything that he does. I'm a big Tom Holland fan, so I agree with that scene. I love the scene where he beats everybody up. Like that was just kind of
my God.
satisfying.
So good.
Especially like watching him in all these Marvel movies where it's very PG-13 beating up, but in this one where he's like, just like
Oh,
like
going
beating
with
people
the
like
ring?
nearly to death, like it's kind of like jarring to see Tom Holland like that violent. You know what I
That
mean? It
was
was
so
kind of cool.
that was so funny that he like puts the bags over the bullies' heads, like when they're like he's beating them up from the car, just like Lenora got the bag over her head when they
Yes.
were born.
Yeah.
That was so classic.
Yeah, well, and that was even good like foreshadowing or callback to when his dad was like, "Hey, like you got to know when to attack people," basically like and Tom,
Hmm.
Arvin waited his until the time was right to attack these people. Like he clearly like took to heart what his dad says even though he hates his dad. But
Just like his father
just
had
like his
told him
father.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally. I mean, I guess that's not a very like deep observation from me because the narrator says it, but it's still cool.
Yeah, for sure. But that scene is just like so good. I love
Yeah,
that one too.
yeah, and I also I want to give a shout out to Tom Holland's face at the end of the movie when he's in the car and he's trying not to fall asleep and the narrator's kind of going through his thought process of what he's thinking about. Like it's just the ending hit for me, and I think a big reason for that is you kind of see what the narrator's saying go across Tom Holland's face as he's trying not to fall asleep. It's cool. You kind of see his thoughts on his face. I
That
love
is
Tom
cool.
Holland. What about you,
Okay.
Yvonne?
For my scene, I'm probably gonna have to give some more love to Sheriff Lee Bodecker. So if you guys will remember, like when he has those, he has like he has his boss or like the crime guy or whoever's like forcing him to do all this stuff,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
his
the
henchman
mob
Bo.
boss. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
really liked when he's at their house and then he gets the gun with the untraceable bullets and then he like
Yeah, the silencer.
improvises the
Yeah,
silencer.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so
That's a
cool.
cool scene.
But yeah, that was just like a really cool like setup, I think, for like a foil in the movie.
Yeah,
Because like I was getting major like I don't know if you guys have seen like the Fargo TV show,
I have not, but I've
but
heard it's good.
kind of like I guess for anyone who has seen it, like the main character kind of like goes through that sort of transition to being kind of like a bad boy.
Hmm.
And I think it sets up kind of like the later fight with Tom Holland very well.
Yeah,
So that's gonna get my number one pick.
yeah, for sure. That's a good point. I think, yeah, because again, to that point, all you'd seen that guy do is like get a hand job from a very like a suburban mom like seven
Get
years
beat up.
7 years before. Yeah, you saw him
And
like be embarrassed, like accuse his sister of being a prostitute, which she was, and and get beat up by a bouncer trying to like bust a prostitution ring or whatever. So I agree that kind of gave his character a little weight and gave it like, oh, okay, this dude's the real deal they have the confrontation between him and Arvin at the end for sure. That's a good shout, Yvonne.
for sure. Oh, and Brandon, you were making the point earlier about kind of like small details that you catch.
Mhm.
Like when I was watching it the second time, I also noticed that when both like Helen gets like stabbed in the neck with the screwdriver, and then when Roy gets like shot, the last word that they both say is Lenora, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't notice that the first time.
Oh, that is cool.
Thing.
Yeah, look, I
Yeah.
mean, Lenora is kind of the one at the center of all of this that gets screwed the most, I think, because she's probably the most innocent person in the whole movie, honestly, and she killed herself because of Robert Pattinson or the preacher taking advantage of her. Like she doesn't, and even in
Exactly.
the end, she's innocent and that she doesn't even want to kill herself, but she messes up. Like very tragic, but maybe the most tragic character in the whole movie for sure is her.
That's also a really good scene when Tom Holland comes in and he's like lifting her up so that like when she's hanging.
Yeah,
I think that was like
yeah,
really powerful.
I agree. I love watching Tom Holland dramatic act. Could do it. I could do it forever. I love just like his facial expressions. The emotion that he portrays on his face is really special. I agree.
And so think about this too. That means Arvin's character now has to see his mom dead, first one to see his dad dead, and first one to see his sister dead.
Hmm. Yeah,
Think about that. Think about
yeah,
doing going through that by the time you're what, like 20? Like
yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Arvin was a tough kid. Like ever since the beginning, I was just kind of like wondering how he would turn out, but like he like grits his teeth and he like makes himself into like a strong person. I don't know like
Yeah.
how he's feeling at the beginning, but like I think that was like a really cool like character transformation, seeing him become kind of like his dad a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the way he's able to just kind of kill, like, I think it's kind of funny, like, in the end, you hear in the narrator talking about, like, he's a good fighter. It's like, yeah, he is a good fighter. We just watched him kill 5 people. And, like, he'd probably be pretty good in a war.
You want a gun too off laying on the ground.
Yeah, he'd probably be pretty good in a war, honestly. Like, he's for sure. Okay. Next one. Let's see. I'm gonna do a funny one next because I like this one. In what scene do y'all think that Bill Skarsgård looks the tallest? Because man is lanky. Man, like, dog has a future in the NBA if he wants to. Like, he's tall. Yeah. I mean, I guess just like what do you guys think? What scene does he look the tallest?
I don't know. It's kind of a hard one to answer. Wait, what did you say, Brandon?
So, okay, I think we're lagging a little bit. I'm kind of behind y'all, but anyways, I think definitely for me, the scene where he meets his wife for the first time, where they have a smoke together outside the diner.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
You're gonna say that too.
Yeah.
They're like, but they're on the brick wall, and all you see is them. And the actor is a full foot taller than this other actor. It looks like, I mean, it looks really
looking
like
Pennywise.
big stark
Yeah,
difference.
looking like Pennywise.
Okay, I'm looking at I'm
For sure. Yeah. No, I
specific questions.
yeah, I was just thinking about that because I remember watching the movie and just like, he is tall, like, especially like he's not even in the movie a lot. Obviously, he's only in like the first. He's in a lot for the first like 20-30 minutes, but he's not in the rest of the movie. And yeah, just watching him next to his wife, especially, who's pretty short, it's just like, whew. It's like I watched. I don't know if y'all have seen Tenet yet. I saw Tenet, and the main actress in that movie, I forget her name, the tall blonde actress. She is so tall. Like, it's just funny. Like, you think that actors are tall, like at least like guy actors especially. It's like, oh man, yeah, they're 6. You think that they're usually tall, but like, there's a cap for movie stars. Usually, you want them to be like 6'2" or under, because otherwise, it's just like they're too tall. Like, they're too tall. I think, obviously, like I said earlier, I think Bill Skarsgård's height works in favor of him in like any role that he plays. But it was just funny in this movie to like damn, that boy long, that boy tall. Okay.
Steve,
yeah, what's up?
Looked up the girl in playing Kat in Tenet. I'm guessing it's the one
Yes,
who plays
yeah,
Kat.
yeah.
Elizabeth Debicki.
Yeah.
She is 6'3".
Yeah, and she wears heels a lot of that movie. There's a scene, no spoilers, but there's a scene where she's like stuck in a car, and she's in the back seat, and she unlocks the front seat with her foot from the back seat. Like, her legs are long, bro. She's tall. She's really good. I like her a lot. I just thought that was it's funny when you see somebody who's really tall in a movie. It just kind of stands out. Let's see, what do we got here?
Wait, I have a point to add.
Oh yeah, go on.
I just wanted to say, like, as kind of like a fan of design, like, I like the logo for the movie. So if you look at the Netflix title, it has the devil all the time, and then like all the is kind of like offset. But the main words that are like really big are devil and time. And I kind of like that those are like the 2 words that are emphasized, because it's like
that's cool.
a thing that's repeating and like it happens over time.
Yeah,
so.
That's cool. That's cool.
Those are
2 very strong. Yeah, like, speaking of things I wanted to shout out, I love the score.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The theme,
Very
the kind of the slight like harp theme that plays, like the main theme that plays over a lot of the more dramatic moments of the movie, is so good. Like, I love a good movie score. I feel like it happens a lot. Like, a lot of modern movies don't really lean into having a theme, like a main theme especially, and like, I love a movie that just like, we have a sick theme that we're just gonna play over everything thematically that makes sense. And I want to give a shout out to the score and for the composers.
For sure.
I can shout them out by name.
And the score, it kind of like plays into like the themes too, because I remember like when Sandy was about to leave Carl, at that time when she's like "fuck you, Carl," and then she like gets in the car and she's gonna like leave or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She like there's a song playing in the background that's just like "Stay for just one more day" or something like a
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, I like a lot of like
Ahead.
the time period music is really good too. They play a lot of very appropriate thematic time period music that is just really good. Kind of the Fallout
And
style, like
they-
50s
what's going on.
big band, like pop is really good. I love it. Yeah, okay. The composer's name is Sonder Jurians?
Urins, maybe?
Urins, yeah,
Yeah.
Urians.
Uranus?
I apologize to this man.
I don't know.
He's a genius, obviously, but his last name is interesting.
What
to
other
pronounce.
movies has he done soundtracks for?
Let's see. Contemporary. I think his is Danny Benzie. He's done nothing too big. Enemy,
I don't recognize any of this
The
stuff.
Autopsy of Jane Doe, The One I Love. He's kind of looks to be kind of like an indie composer. Probably a pretty big deal for him then. This is pretty big movie. Good for him. Very talented. I love the themes in this movie. Okay. Let's see.
I see here also that it's done by that guy you just said, and also this guy named Danny Bensi.
Yeah.
They're both people of it, composers of it.
Mm.
It looks like he is the composer for the show Ozark.
Oh,
Know
okay.
that
So
for
that's
sure.
okay. There you go. Danny Benzie has the pedigree then. That makes sense.
Although I don't recognize a lot of the other stuff, but it does. He has a lot of credits. So
Interesting.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, it looks like they're our composing team now. Cool.
uh,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see.
you know,
Wait, Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier that Tom Holland's dog got like crucified by
Yeah.
his dad.
Yeah.
Wait, was that really what happened? Because
It's
like
it's a very brief shot because it's clearly not a real dog. Like I'm sure it's like it's fake, but yeah, it's like when he first comes out and like those couple of times briefly where they show his dad's body on the ground, you can see it. Or one of the it's like I think it's literally only one shot that you can see the dog being crucified, but it's dark.
it's,
as well.
it's when the deputy comes up and looks at it
Yes.
because he's in there and he sees like he goes and sees the body and then he flashes up with the flashlight and you see the dog crucified on the cross.
okay, dang, that's pretty savage. I was
Yeah.
just thinking that was kind of like the father's like I don't know, like his final like image of like what he was like seeing, and it was like symbolic or something, but that's like a lot more like over the edge than what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wait, and I have
Crazy
another
jerk.
another question too. I was wondering, like, you know how Roy killed Helen with like the screwdriver and everything?
Yeah.
Like in the scene before, they showed his brother like sharpening the screwdriver, which is like I don't know. I
Oh,
sometimes feel
Yeah.
like
That I
construction work,
think
and I was feeling
I
like, why?
yeah I
Why?
think
Why would he do
I
that?
think his brother was in on it.
well, I don't think so because afterwards he was like, "Why'd you do that? Like, you really did that? Like, and you
Yeah.
buried her?"
But also I was surprised. There was a moment after he killed her and he's trying to resurrect her and he keeps yelling like Raz, Raz. Like they cut to the brother in the car. They're not very far away from the car. They're like 50 feet from the car. They're still in view of the car. Like they
Yeah.
didn't go out of view. He didn't go out of view from the car to kill her.
He was asleep though.
He was asleep.
Yeah.
I
But that
guess.
brings me an
I
interesting like
I
theory.
don't know.
Like, was the brother the mastermind? He was kind of like manipulating the brother through like his like religious fervor or whatever, just kind of like to get him to do weird stuff. But if that's the case, like I don't know why he would decide or like how he could let like his brother get away, just kind of like go off and hitchhike and I guess get killed by those people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I
who
don't know.
knows?
I probably wouldn't buy into that theory. I think the brother in the wheelchair was just kind of a bystander, but I think he's.
That's my understanding too.
But
But
hey, you've seen it twice, Evan. Maybe you know something we don't, my guy.
Maybe.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I was gonna say there's something called in memoriam. Literally everyone in this movie dies. I think that's interesting, except for Tom Holland and like his grandma and the uncle. Everybody else,
almost
all the other main characters die. Which I guess that's just kind of a product of the genre, like kind of American Gothic and kind of the style of movie that this is. But I just thought that was interesting. I do enjoy a good everybody in the movie dying. Which again, I was expecting Tom Holland to die at the end, so I think it's nice because like a lot of movies that are maybe lighter in tone than this movie, everybody stays alive at the end, right? Like a lot of like PG-13 type, like crowd pleasing type movies, they can't really be dead. Like they're like, oh no, they died. No, they're not dead. Like Chewbacca in Episode 9 or something like that, right? Like, oh no, Chewie died, and then 5 minutes later he's just chilling on the transport.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
further spoiler.
I just saved you.
Avengers,
That episode's 9 is not very good. So yeah, you're not missing out on much if you haven't seen it already. You're good.
And Steve creating controversy in the first episode of the podcast.
Is that controversial? Is saying that Rise of Skywalker is not very good? Is that controversial? I don't think it's very controversial.
I think it's kind of controversial.
I mean, it's a. I mean.
We'll cut it. Don't worry. We'll cut it.
No, we don't have to cut it. If anybody actually made it this far into the podcast, talk trash to me. I'd love that.
Thank you, whoever's still listening.
Yeah. If anybody made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts on episode 9. I'd love to argue about episode 9 if you know.
Hey, Steven.
Yeah.
Episode 9 has an 86 audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Did you see the critic score though?
The critic score is 51, but that's still half the critics like it. So,
I mean, it's not awful. We can talk about this on a different podcast, I guess, but we'll table it.
Moving ahead.
Okay, let's do one more category. What? Look at the list here, guys. One more category? What category do you want to do? That we haven't done already.
I would say best hair, but I think that's pretty obviously Tom Holland.
Yeah.
He has like the flow, and he's always like running his hands through his hair.
Yeah, he does so fantastic. Robert Pattinson's hair is pretty fantastic too, though. Very slicked back and to the side.
Okay, I have something to add.
Yeah.
What did y'all think about the costumes?
Yeah.
This has been getting stuff on the internet. Yeah.
I think the costuming for the most part was pretty solid. I mean, me and Brandon Netflix partied it, and there was a moment where when they first like are showing Tom Holland when he's first coming on screen as Arvin, and he's it's like I think also there's a 7-year jump obviously, so like time period dress is a little different than in the 50s, but like he's dressed so modern. He's in like a denim jacket, denim jeans, cuffed with like combat boots and like a pure navy blue cap, and just like that dude looks like he lives in New York and like has a podcast or something. Like he looks so modern.
I saw that. Like, did this movie jump ahead to like now? Like I mean, immediately I've worn a denim jacket and jeans before. I was like, this is other than that, like great. I love the costumes, but that was like very like I know that the internet's been saying a lot about that, but that was like interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
People say that that's something because like fashion is like kind of cyclical, or is that just kind of like they did?
I do think like if you like think about it, like look at it, like yeah, that's a pretty valid outfit for anybody, probably in the 60s, right? A striped shirt with a denim jacket and jeans and like black boots or whatever. But just like the way it was thrown together, and the fact that Tom Holland was wearing it too, I was just like I feel like they maybe could have like have him wear something else if they like, because it was honestly a little jarring to be like, oh, that's just very modern looking, and it didn't really look like period denim either. It just looked like denim. Like it's like
they just went to a denim jacket.
I went to H&M, got a denim jacket, and put it on Tom Holland. And even I mean, Tom Holland's hair is kind of period, but it's also kind of modern too. Like so.
Dude,
I love that look.
No, I do too.
So clean. I want to.
It's a great look.
Yeah, handsome. I mean, we're not here to say that Tom Holland isn't handsome. He's handsome. There's no getting around that. There's a lot of handsome dudes in this movie. Yeah, I was gonna give a shout to, I think my least favorite hair in the movie is Sebastian Stan.
Agreed. Yes.
Who is that again?
He's the cop. He's the sheriff.
Uh,
I don't know. I can't think of his character name. He's the Winter
uh,
Soldier.
Lee
The
Bodecker.
Bodecker. Yeah, Officer Sheriff Bodecker. Sheriff Bodecker. Oh, Sheriff Bodecker. Yeah, he's just too short. Especially like after seeing him, like he's a very handsome man. Seeing him as Winter Soldier with like the shoulder length, which I don't even necessarily love either, but he had just had like the military like buzz, and it was just like, it kind of played into I think his kind of just like dirtbag character. I feel like it was like he kind of had a dirtbag like buzz. I don't know. So it was weird. Like I like Sebastian Stan a lot. I think he's great in this movie for sure. But yeah.
I had to do a double take. I was like, is that actually Sebastian Stan? Like, I was like, he does not look as good as he normally does. That's what I thought.
It was surprising. I think like hair does a lot for people, right? Like that's something that like people don't talk about, but like hairstyle
For sure.
matters, like attractiveness wise, and like especially for for a thin line. Someone like Sebastian Stan who's very handsome. I was just surprised at how different he made him look. I guess that was my one thing, but yeah.
And yeah, speaking of which, with haircuts, like I know you don't like this look specifically, Steve, but like the undercut, I feel like is a really old like hairstyle too. Like I feel like we could have seen that in this movie, and it would have been like perfectly in place too.
What the undercut? What do you mean?
Like the one where you do the really short sides and the long on the top,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
like military type
Yeah,
haircut.
yeah, for sure. Well, I guess it just kind of stood out because all of the other male actors had kind of periody hair, just kind of like mid to long length, slicked back type hair. But I mean, it worked for his character, but it was just interesting. And this is something I said to Brandon too. But what was the actor you said of the photographer, Brandon? What was his name?
Let's see. His name was Jason Clark.
Jason Clark. I've seen him in a couple other things. I saw him. I watched First Man the other day, the Damien Chazelle movie. He's really good. He's a good actor, but his hairline in this movie, I feel like works so much for his character. Like the way that,
Yes.
like makeup and like hair people are able to kind of like, if someone is playing a dirtbag, like, you know, like this guy is like a total murderer creep who like corners hitchhikers and tells them to have sex with his wife and then and then kills them. Like the way they're able to kind of just like emphasize his receding hairline and just like make him look more dirtbag. Like I think about the first season of The Office, Steve Carell. They like slick back his hair to kind of make it look like he has a receding hairline, like Ricky Gervais does in the original Office. It's kind of a tool that like people use. I feel like to be like, oh, this guy's kind of a dirtbag. He has a receding hairline, like oh, kind of
Didn't know
icky.
that.
Like that's kind of just like a general emotion that you can get while watching a movie, and I think it works really well in this movie. Like you look at that guy with that kind of like hair and haircut, and especially like with what he does throughout the movie, you're just like, ugh, ugh.
Another great performance, by the way. That
Yeah.
guy killed it.
He's really good.
I was very good out.
Very good, a very good jerk. Just a total human piece of garbage.
I'm
Very good
giving
at
you a
it.
good thing here,
People in
guy.
this movie are good at playing human pieces of garbage for sure.
All right. Well, I gave the shout out to the typography of the movie, and Steve shouted out the soundtrack of the movie. Brennan, do you have anything that you would like to shout out from the movie that particularly stood out as like very good or like noteworthy or something like that?
We already talked about it, but definitely the symbolism. There's so much symbolism. I mean, we could have a whole podcast just about the symbolism in this movie. I mean, I really like that. I think we talked about just about everything, though, that I would like to, in terms of
Yeah.
giving anything a
Yeah, I
shout
think
out.
we
I
can.
can't think of anything later on, but
Yeah, I think so. I think we can kind of give some final thoughts here. Yeah, final thoughts, man. Like I said before, I enjoyed the heck out of the movie. It just like, and even if like, I don't know, like I know I'm not doing a great job of elaborating on. I'm kind of just saying it's good over and over again, but I just feel like there's so many fun pieces. Like there's so many fun pieces of this movie that we were able to talk about. You know, that even if the movie itself, if you think the movie itself is boring, or if you think it's too heavy-handed, or if you think it's not very good. There's so much fun stuff in this movie with like famous actors. It's like, oh, Tom Holland gets to beat the hell out of people, or Jason
Yeah.
Clarke's hairline, or Bill Skarsgård being 6 foot tall and being married to someone who's 5'4". There's just so much like Robert Pattinson having an accent and being super creepy, like just a total heater performance from Robert Pattinson, bro. Even if you don't like the movie, I feel like you can sit here and talk about it and be like, that was fun. Like there's fun stuff to talk about in this movie. I think that was why we all were kind of just like want to do a podcast on this. Like we talked about doing a podcast, but this is a good movie to start it out on. It's just like it's a current movie, and there's a lot going on there, even if you don't like it, I think.
Yeah, informative of the time too. Like
Mhm.
seeing your 11-cent chicken livers, I thought that was pretty cool to
Yeah,
see. Kind of
yeah,
like a little
yeah.
pricing
When
thing.
this filmed in Alabama, where our podcasts, or
Yeah.
where me and Brandon are. Yvonne's in Seattle, I guess, but yeah, we like the locations within a couple hours of where we live, which is kind of cool. Our friend Dylan has like taken shows.
We need to.
What are you saying, Brandon? Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we have a little lag, but
No, you're good.
we need to take a road trip and like go to all the like we can go to the church and like
Yeah,
the downtowns of those places. We're like 2 hours from them. That would be really
yeah,
cool to go to that
that
church
would
and
be really
everything.
cool for sure. I'm down, honestly. That'd be cool. Take some pictures and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, do you guys have any final thoughts?
Are we gonna rate it? Can we give a rating?
Yes,
Ooh.
yeah. Let's each give a rating.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Mm,
So I think
Sure.
out of 10, um, I don't know if I'm gonna do like a points. That's kind. I think I'm gonna go.
you're committed to it, Steve. You already said out of 10. You have to give a number.
I know I'm gonna give it a number. I'm gonna say 7 out of 10.
Hmm?
Um, just because like I don't know if this is a movie that I'll be thinking about for a long time or anything like that. Like
That's true.
I don't think it's necessarily something that I'll in 2 years be like, oh, I want to watch Devil all the time again, bro. Like that was an incredible movie. But it's just good. It's just good, solid acting. I mean, it's not particularly like visually like shot crazy in any like ambitious way, but it's shot very. All the costumes are cool. It's a good story. Like 7 out of 10. What about you, Brandon?
Um, Probably gonna give like a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I obviously very good movie. If we're talking in terms of Netflix movies, again, like I said at the beginning, this is a 10 out of 10 in terms of Netflix movies.
Mhm.
But as a movie overall, I'm gonna say 7.5 out of 10. I love a good plot, and this plot is really good. The plot intertwines with each other a lot, and I really appreciate that, and it all comes together, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not going to be a movie I'll want to watch again probably in 5 years, but definitely a really fun movie to watch once or twice probably. And I mean, just to see these actors is really great. It makes me excited for Batman, to be honest, Robert Pattinson. But
Yeah,
um,
baby. Yeah, baby. That
really
trailer.
solid
That
movie.
trailer.
Really solid movie.
I'm vengeance. What about you, Yvonne?
I'd probably say that I'm with you guys on like replayability and everything. So I'm gonna give it also 7.5 Tom Holland heads out of 10. Try saying that.
7.5
But
Tom
yeah.
Holland heads out of 10. Yeah, I think one more thing to add, Brandon. I think something that's worth noting about like you say like a good Netflix movie is like it's kind of interesting to see moving forward because Netflix is now they're buying all of these huge movies that they want to win awards. Like they bought the Irishman and stuff like that, Roma. Like they're producing prestige movies now. So it's kind of interesting moving forward, like with Netflix movies, like seeing like what standard we judge it by. You know what I mean? Whether it's like because I think this one is kind of borderline prestige, but also borderline Netflix movie. So it's kind of interesting. Like some movies on Netflix are like, oh no, that's not a Netflix movie. That's just like a award type movie, and some movies on Netflix are like, oh okay, well that was good for a Netflix movie. Like I don't know how much I'd enjoy paying $15 for it to see it at a movie theater, but yeah.
So I have a question. If this movie were to come out in theaters, would your scores have been lower? If you like paid money, sat in theater, and watched this movie, would you have changed your
I
score?
don't think so. I don't think so. I honestly think like my score is like kind of like the lowest I personally could have given it in the moment. You know what I mean? Like I think, especially I think I say I've said multiple times throughout this podcast. Oh, if I'm gonna pay $15. I might not like it. That's kind of false. When I leave a movie theater, I want to like the movie almost always. So I think
Yeah,
leaving the movie
exactly.
theater, if I saw this movie, I'd be like, "Oh, that movie was awesome! Oh my gosh!"
Yeah. I was gonna say I think I would actually give it a little bit of a higher score, maybe like an 8 or an 8.5, just
Yeah,
because I
I'm
think
same.
the genre of like suspense and like the just kind of like the buildup of everything
Yeah,
and like really big payoff moments in the movie, like Arvin beating up the bullies and like getting the criminals and like beating the sheriff and all that stuff. I feel like those are really kind of like not stand up and cheer moments, but kind of like get hyped and maybe like
yeah,
hear people around you get
yeah. No,
hyped and
it,
then
it
like,
would have been
like
really
make
cool to
it
see in a
better.
theater for sure. There's
Good
a lot
point.
of tense moments. It would have been really cool to see in a theater. I think. Good point. Yeah. So that was the devil all the time, boys. This has been the Dubs DVDs podcast.
Oh
First
yeah.
episode, inaugural episode of the Dubs and DVD podcast. Um,
What's the
yeah,
what's the over under on the views within the first week?
first
Probably
week.
5 million, 6 million.
Okay, I think ballpark, right? I mean, what does Joe Rogan get? You know, like how many listens? No,
We
just
multiply that by 100.
if we're getting Joe Rogan numbers in the first couple of weeks, I'll be happy. That's me.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
That's what we're going for. Yeah, that's what we're going for. All right, thanks for listening. If anybody made it this far, I appreciate it. Like us, subscribe to us on any of these platforms that we're going to put this thing out on. We're hopefully going to be doing a lot more of these in the future. So
Yeah,
thanks.
and if y'all have any recommendations for other movies that we should watch, either new movies that are coming out or old movies that you want us to check out,
Yeah.
yeah, send us a message or whatever,
Yes,
and
that's a
we'll
good
try
point,
to do
Yvonne.
that.
Yeah. Any construct. Literally, this is our first podcast ever. Any constructive criticism, anything, any kind of feedback you guys want to give us on this, just let us know. So, yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all soon.